small business owners growing slightly more optimistic in August. But the National Federation of Independent Businesses says, quote, "We're in the doldrums." For every one small business owner who says access to credit is their biggest problem, 7 cite poor sales. Separately, the Business Roundtable report released this morning suggests the way to help small business is to boost sales. And the Senate will hold a procedural vote on a small business bill today, clearing the way for a $30 billion government fund to help small business lending. But the problem is sales. Lloyd Chapman, president and founder of the American Small Business League, joins us now. Lloyd, I mean, it doesn't matter what the government does it? The problem is sales.
Absolutely. There's not a word in this bill that's going to increase sales for small businesses in this country.
Well, that wouldn't be the job of the government anyway.
Well, yeah, you know, there's a federal law that says 23% of all government contracts should go to small businesses. There's been a series of investigations for 5 years that say most of the small business contracts go to Fortune 500 firms. If President Obama wants to stimulate the economy, he needs to, stop giving small business contracts to Fortune 500 corporations and do something to increase the sales of small businesses. There's not a word in this bill to do that. In fact, this bill looks like it was written by the lobbyists for the National Venture Capital Association. This bill is just full of loopholes for venture capitalists.
So I'm still curious, Lloyd, as to why, because we can't even list all the acronyms, right, of the efforts that have been put forth to help lending to small businesses, right? But yet you come on here and say, look, it hasn't worked. So why hasn't it worked? Have they targeted the wrong thing? Have they been too few and far between? Have they not been big enough? I mean, what's been the problem?
Well, if you've got a business and you're losing, $5,000 a month, you don't need a loan. You need more sales. This bill, by the way, has a loophole, section 1341, paragraph 4, that could repeal the most aggressive stimulus plan that's ever been passed, the Small Business Act. And this section essentially legalizes contracting fraud. I can't believe this. I read this last night and I was just stunned. Section 1341. Somebody needs to read this. This could repeal the federal law that says 23% of all government contracts should go to small businesses and allow the biggest companies in the world to hijack these programs and get away with it. I can't believe it. I'm stunned. I've never seen a worse piece of legislation in my life.
So even though the spin is this bill is designed to help small businesses, it would be in small business best interest to oppose it?
Absolutely. This, quite frankly, I'll go ahead and say it. This is one of the most anti-small business piece of legislation I've ever seen. Again, Section 1341 could repeal the Small Business Act. It could force millions of small businesses to close their doors. And this bill won't create one job. It's got the potential to force thousands of small businesses out of business. And, the NFIB says it, the Congressional Oversight Committee says it, surveys by the American Small Business League. Sales, 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 sales is what small businesses need. There's not a word in this bill to do that. This was President Obama's last shot to stimulate the economy, and he blew it. It's just, it's loopholes for venture capitalists is what it is.
All right, Lloyd, thank you very much for your input. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And today, Mark, on Street Signs, we're going to take the next step on this, 2 o'clock Eastern, with all the focus on giving